Hello, TFR Nation, Gabe.
Nick, I was waiting for the point.
I'm like, and we are here today to bring you guys our WandaVision episode 8 review. Now, this bad boy was an hour long. It gave us so much content. We're gonna do like a quick 5 minute no spoiler review for you guys. And then listen, the spoiler alert's gonna come on, and you guys gotta bounce if you ain't seen it yet, because this thing is bananas. So really quickly, my thoughts on it, non-spoilerish. I think that they're using WandaVision really to set up the rest of the Marvel universe moving forward, the MCU. We had heard that they were going to use it to set it up Doctor Strange too. I think they're doing much more than that. They're setting up mutants, not the way I thought they were going to do it, but they're definitely setting up mutants, and they're setting up the future of the MCU. We've kind of found out also in this episode that Agatha Harkness, right? Everyone's known Agatha Harkness. Agatha Harkness. They figured it out from like episode 1. Everybody knew who she was. You know what I mean? But we figured out that why she placated Wanda over this whatever this season so far, and that she never was under Wanda's control or whatnot. But we kind of figured out what she wants, what it is that she wants. So I mean, the episode was fun. It was an hour long, gave us a lot of information. We get some more backstory on Hayward and the scumbag everybody thinks he is, which he is. Nick, your thoughts on the episode, non-spoilerish?
Yeah, I mean, just for any of the fact checkers, it's actually like 45 minutes, but still a long episode. I was actually watching. I'm like, man, this thing's still going. Oh, good. There's a few more minutes. And of course, they have their like 8 minutes of credits and whatnot. But when this episode started, because you had said at the end of the last episode review that the next episode is going to be all about Agatha and her background, and it starts off that way without giving any spoilers. That's just how it starts off. And I'm like, man, he was correct. And it made me think of The Walking Dead. After The Walking Dead got to about episode 6 or season 6 or 7, they had these episodes, at least 4 or 5 in every season, where they were wasted episodes. It was like, let's give you a little bit of information, and let's make it very melodramatic, and let's try to make it artsy fartsy and stretch it for an hour. And most of them, at the end of the episode, you're like, okay, that was good to learn more about Morgan, but we got nothing out of it, and it had nothing to do with the story. They're running out of ideas. And that's what I thought this episode was going to be. But if you watch the entire episode, it's kind of like that to a certain degree, where it's a background information episode, but it's highly entertaining and highly informative, and it's important to the series. So it just plays to, and I think it's the same director every time, Matt Blankman or whatever the name is. I'm sorry if I'm getting it wrong. I'll check his name in a second, but it goes to the showrunners of this show, where even on a wasted episode, right, they still make it really, really good and really informative. I enjoyed it quite a bit. It wasn't my favorite of the second half of the season, but it was a necessary episode, if I can say that. And before we get into spoilers, guys, when you watch this, there is a post-credit scene. You've got to check it out. It's like in the midway of the credits. We're going to talk about that for those that have seen it later on, but you've got to check that out. So that's our non-spoiler. Go ahead and check it out. It is necessary. It's not a waste. It's a little slower of an episode, but you get a whole lot of meat to it. It's not like a meal where you just get salad today. There's a little bit of meat to this as well. And let's go ahead and jump right into spoilers, all right? And we'll start off with Agatha Harkness. I read up about the Salem witch trial, so you knew that was going to play a part. But I was not expecting that the other witches, because this is just the first few minutes, the other witches were going to bring her in and be like, basically, dude, you're breaking the rules. You're going to get us in trouble because we're getting killed right now. So now we're going to put you on trial. And they're doing all these little beams to her or whatever. And you got like who she's called Mother. I don't think it's her mother. She's probably the mother of the witches. But you have them like doing their powers and trying to defeat her. And then all of a sudden, she looks like she's actually scared. She's able to turn the tables and soak their power, soak their energy from them to make her stronger. Do you think in that part, do you think that she was always able to have that ability? Or do you think that she's still she was figuring herself out as a witch and she was trying to conform And she was just like, if you're going to go after me, I'm going to do what I think I can to take your powers and destroy all of you. It seemed like she was kind of in that discovery mode at that moment.
So, just piecing a whole bunch of things together, right? From even this is how smart Marvel is. One of the book that I call the Necronomicon, which is actually one of the books, and I forget the actual name of the book. But it's that was in the last episode. Was if you notice Doctor Strange, there was a complete book missing from that wall of all the books, all the texts that were chained up. And theory in the internet is that that's the name of the book. I'm so mad at myself right now that I didn't write it down. I don't remember the name of the book. Any which way, in that movie, right? Dormammu, we saw that Dormammu was purple, right? What's Agatha's power? Purple. So I think that that's who she's conferring with, because they said that she's conferring. That's who she's conferring with, and that's who she's getting power. Because remember, Doctor Strange doesn't, in and of himself, have any powers. He's borrowing powers from other beings. That's what casting spells is, but they're not really his powers. So I think that she was using or borrowing powers from Dormammu and was able to get them. So she was still at that point learning how to be a witch, but she's using his powers in order to do that. The mother, I believe you're right, that's not her mother, that's the mother of the Covenant or whatnot. You saw that even she, when she's using her powers, gets that crown going over her or whatever.
And I was fully expecting to throw that on Agnes or Agatha right after she defeated her, but that didn't happen.
Right. That means that she, presumably is a Scarlet Witch herself, and she was able to take down a Scarlet Witch, which is a powerful being. And we hear that towards the end of the episode, the first time anybody actually called her the Scarlet Witch. That was like, boom! Oh my gosh, you know what I'm saying? Yeah. But to answer your question, I think that's what it is. Back to one of your points you hit earlier, I think that Kevin Feige and the Marvel team is so smart, because you've got to do an episode like this where we get some backstory, since Agatha's so huge to this series. Without this, people would be like, how is Agatha? Now you realize how powerful she is. She was able to take down an entire Covenant, including another Scarlet Witch. So that's why
and it's lazy too to bring in a character that's powerful and just be like, well, just assume she has powers. Exactly. It's important. Like I said, why I said earlier, it's necessary this episode. Yeah.
Right. There's not enough people, and myself, I all I knew about Agatha Harkness was that she was a witch and that she was the babysitter for Fantastic Four,
she had a
who
cat.
who have their own kid who's like super powerful. So they bring her in. That's all I remember about her in the comics. Is there's tons of comics. So it was good that they bought they did this episode. With that being said, man, I think that's what that was about there with Agatha Harkness. And I thought it played an important role to show why she's able to not necessarily best the Scarlet Witch, but she's already taken one out before, and she knows how dangerous Wanda is.
Well, let me correct myself. It's Matt Shakman. Matt Shakman's the director, and I'm pretty sure he directed every episode. He's done a brilliant job. Absolutely. I don't know the name, but I think we're going to definitely hear it in the future with Marvel and all that kind of stuff. So this episode, it starts off with, you were right, Agatha, she's in her basement. She has her little spells on each little wall there. And so Wanda is powerless in there. And she's just got Wanda, by the balls, so to speak, excuse the expression. And she's just got her tuned up or chained up with her powers. And she's basically, toying with her. And she's like, listen, you calm down with your bad self. But she's also perplexed, because for all the knowledge she has, for all the spells, I mean, she's able to do all these things that we don't think Wanda's able to do. Wanda's going off instinct and going off the few things she's learned about herself thus far. Agatha is perplexed because she keeps asking, where did you learn this? How did you do this? And we find out then, at least I found out then, that Agatha had nothing to do with the hex. You were right about that. Again, what else is new with this show? But she is so confused and obviously scared. And she's playing into that classic villain role where the overconfidence of, I'm the mentor, you're the mentee, so to speak. Yes, you have some potential, you got some power, but I've been doing this for some time. I've taken out an entire covenant, if you will. So I'm not really too worried about you. So I'm going to let you take me down memory lane and let me know how you got all these different powers, which obviously is dangerous. It's the classic villain thing. Just take out her right now before it becomes worse, because once she Scarlet Witch, once she gets more and more powerful, you're going to have no chance. But anyways, this episode, they go down memory lane, all right? They go to her past, and that was really cool. It was really cool to see her when her and Pietro were really young, the family, TV show night. I'm wondering how much of that actually happened and how much of it didn't. And this is really stupid for me to think this, because in the suitcase, they open it up. You see Malcolm we see all the different shows they're paying homage to, which was cool. Right. But you see Malcolm in the Middle and the DVD set right there. Obviously, when she was younger, Malcolm in the Middle did not exist yet. So Disney may have done that to pay homage to those shows that they were copycatting for some of the intros and whatnot. But for me, that was a small fact, but it made me think like, okay, maybe not all of this is real. Maybe she can't remember 100%. Maybe she's blocking some of those memories. Who knows? But regardless, we see her fascination with these shows because apparently when she was younger, they would watch these American shows together to learn English and also be entertained.
You picked up on something I did not, my friend. Didn't realize Malcolm in the Middle would have not been out at that time. So good on you there. I thought it was smart because it showed that her favorite episode was the setup for that Dick Van Dyke, which I'm like, Dick Van Dyke? I never even watched Dick Van Dyke. But
I actually did. That's a great show. Yeah.
It was the setup for that episode when her and Vision were in the bedroom with the separate beds or whatever. That's directly where she got it out of. So I'm like, oh, okay, cool. So it pays off. It paid it off. But we learned in this episode that that she was always a witch. And this is, I guess, the biggest spoiler. The biggest thing about this, and that's what Agatha says, oh, the little witch. She was always a witch, even before she came into contact with an Infinity Stone, which comes back to my previous theory that contact with Wanda's magic, when she expands the hex, is going to have people like Captain Marvel, Monica Rambeau, awaken those latent powers in them or whatever. That's how they're going to bring mutants and special powered people into the MCU. And I think it's a much.
Let me cut you off real quick. What makes you think? Because I agree with you. There's no way she would have survived the Mind Stone situation if she did not already have some powers. Because they said everyone else died. Oh, just send her in there. What makes you think, besides her surviving that Mind Stone, maybe that's it, that she was always a witch? Because she wasn't able to do anything. She wasn't able to move that Stark missile. She just said it was a dud, and we had to wait 2 days. What makes you think that?
Yeah, Agatha Harkness says that that's the first time she used her powers. Like, it was a quick line. Agatha Harkness says something to that.
I think she asked her, "Is that the first time you used your powers?" And she said, "No, I didn't have to I didn't because it was a dud."
It was a probability. She says it was a probability spell you threw. If you go back and watch it, that's what she says. Okay. Where with the probability spell, which Wanda has those powers, you could have things go in your favor. Basically, the bomb won't explode. You know what I'm saying? So it was the first time of her using her powers, and then you already hit the nail on the head. She was the only one that was able to walk in there and be face to face with an Infinity Stone and not die, because everybody else that walked in that room died, except presumably for her and Pietro. And even more, as you're there, you see that the Scarlet Witch is coming to her in a vision, because that's the silhouette of the Scarlet Witch with her crown on, that's the silhouette of the Scarlet Witch. And I'm thinking to myself, holy cow, this is bananas, but she's a Nexus being. So she exists and she's a gateway to all different universes. You know what I mean? So I thought that's why that played there. But to me, that it's so smart for Marvel to explain mutants this way. They don't have to completely rewrite. Just, hey, anyone that came into contact with Wanda or her hex, I should say, it's going to awaken any dormant powers in them if they have it. Think about it. It's kind of like Smallville, right? All this stuff that happened in Smallville happened because the kryptonite, right? So of course other people are going to be affected. And I think it's such smart writing. I hadn't made that connection with Smallville until I watched your review on Smallville. It reminded me about all that stuff. So good on you. Not Smallville, but on the new Superman show. And they went back on that. But man, it's writing.
Let me correct you, because you made a huge mistake. His name is Pietro, right? Fake Pietro. Come on, man. That was hilarious when she dropped. Listen, this is a different kind of point, but she does a great job. I think her name was Catherine Hahn or something like that. She does a great job as Agatha Harkness. But if they want to extend her to the cinematic universe into the films, she's going to have to change in my opinion, the acting approach just a little bit, because it plays well in this show. I'm not sure how it's going to play in the MCU. But she's hilarious, is she not?
She's fabulous. I disagree with you, bro. I want to see her in the MCU
I
because you
don't
gotta.
think it's going to translate, though.
I like. She's almost, and this is gonna be blasphemous, but she's almost a female Tony Stark with that arrogance, with that overconfidence, with
But
that.
there's a little too much cheese to it, though. And maybe it's just my preference of acting. Maybe it's just my preference, but
you know what I'm saying? Where like she thinks
Yeah.
she's the biggest cheese in the room, always has the quippy lines. I love her approach to it. And again, she's like, I'm a being that's been around since the Salem witch trials. I've been around for centuries. You're just a young pup. And you're right. She was afraid and perplexed because she's like, how are you doing this? And for people are going to say, well, what's her motivation? Guys, it's clear. Power always wants more power. She wants whatever because she's like, you got magic on autopilot? Like, I can't do that. How do you have an entire town at the outer boundaries working on living out entire scenarios? That's power. I want that. And of course, more people who have power want more powerful. There's no question. I understand her motivation and completely buy it.
And I also think that she's very, very scared and she's very nervous because, as far as we know, in the MCU world, right? Because they introduced it here, she hasn't had anyone as magical as she is, as magical as she naturally is since the Salem witch trials. So it's been like almost 400 years, and then here comes this person. Like, what are you doing? I know you were thinking this. Maybe I'm wrong, but I know you were thinking this when they went to the flashback of her and her brother when they were young, and the parents get blown up and all that kind of stuff, which we pieced that together already from Ultron. But I know you were thinking, like, okay, if she exudes some powers right now before she gets to that Mind Stone, are they going to mention Magneto? Are they going to finally have the balls to bring in that, or are they just going to completely ditch that altogether? Because the parents, as far as we know, they were normal parents, without any powers as far as we know. Where did her and her brother get those powers? Were they going to suggest that they were adopted in some way? Tell me you weren't at least hoping and thinking, are they going to even mention, Magneto or his actual name?
Right. I still hold on, hope beyond hope, that they will introduce him in the last. This is going to be supposed to be one big cameo. And that's the best character of X-Men in general. I remember watching the X-Men, the animated series. If you've never seen it, it's on Disney Plus. It's free. It was amazing. One of the best cartoons ever. And towards the end, he joins the X-Men because you realize Magneto's not an evil character. He's just fighting for his people. Okay, it's mankind that has persecuted mutants. And he's one of the best written comic book characters, bro. Best written as far as evil characters. And I so want them to bring him in. I don't think that's the direction they're going anymore. But I
don't think so either. But I want it so bad.
I so want it so bad, bro. I really do.
I will say about Pietro, I don't know if they did like criminally intentionally bad, but I think there's a little intention there where you still so you have the fake Pietro, and he was the Pietro from the Fox films or whatever, right. And he's the fake one. Like, he doesn't matter. That's, to me, that kind of was like a little bit of like, we're the top dog. Yes, we own, X-Men now, but our Pietro was the best one. I just thought that was funny and kind of interesting. We want to try to keep this review somewhat tight. So let's go ahead and jump into the end of this right here. She gets exposed to the Mind Stone. The Hydra is doing their Hydra thing, and they make someone, whatever you want to call it, the powers closed up or whatever. They open it up and they make her into Wanda and all this kind of stuff. We didn't get too much about Pietro, but we're assuming that he just was always fast, or he got exposed to the stone too. But she definitely did get exposed, and it turned her into what she is today as she develops different things. You have this standoff, right? Well, there's two things we got to talk about. First, the standoff between her and Agatha Harkness. We don't have to spend too much time on this, but it was interesting because Agatha, at that point, she raises up in the air. She's got the two kids right by the throats. And for me, this is her being completely scared of what Scarlet Witch can do. And for me, why would you bring the kids in it? You're going to tick her off and bring those powers where she was able to bring. They show how she brought the Hex. That was so touching. She goes to the house that I'm assuming her and Vision bought, or Vision bought for her, or someone did. She goes to the foundation. She sees what could have been hers. We see all the different familiar characters in their natural state walking around this town. That's just a regular town. And then she goes nuts and she expands the Hex. She creates Vision out of thin air. Yeah. But with that standoff with Agatha, and Agatha is just, full diva mode, and she's just showing what she has. It's going to be interesting to see what happens next, because we have all these different players that still have to play in the last episode. There's so much that's going to happen in the last episode. I know I'm kind of just recapping there. I don't really have too many thoughts besides I liked how they did that kind of stuff. I think Agatha is a little too overconfident. Any thoughts about that part before we get to the post-credit scene?
I think that with that part in general, as I'm thinking about it, I think you're right. Agatha is still afraid because even though Wanda isn't as versed and as educated in the magic arts as she is, because she's like, you silly girl, you don't even understand, basic magic. These are basic spells.
Transfiguration spell, yeah.
I love her arrogance. She does realize that Wanda is a Scarlet Witch. She mentioned Scarlet Witch, which is huge, but she's so powerful that she's gonna use those kids as shields. Basically, that's cannon fodder. I got your kids. You come after me, I'm gonna snap them or whatever. She's got those things around her neck. So I agree with you there. I also think that with this episode, it's set up. I don't know who bought that property for Wanda, that empty property or whatever. Was it Vision before he died or whatever? One of the things that was important is showed is that Hayward is a scumbag. He lied about the footage because Wanda came in and she didn't steal Vision's body. That's an important thing. She went in and she wanted to talk to. She just wanted to see him. She wanted to bury Vision is what she wanted to, so he could get a proper funeral. They go back. She realizes that they're working on him, and Hayward's almost like goading her, like, look, he's ours. He was never yours. You know what I mean? This is American property, all kinds of crazy stuff like that. And she goes down there, sees that, she tries to revive him, and she can't. She can't revive the dead. Remember when she told her kids, I can't do that. That's why she knows she can't revive the dead. She wasn't actually able to revive Vision there. She wasn't able to revive her brother. That's fake Pietro, like you gave him fake Tro, the new name. I love it. So fake Pietro isn't being revived. She can't revive the dead with her power. So what happens is when she goes back to this town, whoever bought her the property put the little heart around it. It's just the emotions let out. Hex happened. The important part is that as she's creating everything around the town, which is why I'm thinking, she created the children. It wasn't Agatha, right? She created the children. Agatha says, you got the power to create life. She created Vision. And this is Vision because she never took the body. And you can see that Vision is being recreated. Remember, they're both created out of the same thing, the Mind Stone, right? Vision had the Mind Stone implanted in his head, right? That's what gave him life. And Wanda is her powers were activated through the Mind Stone, so that's where they got that connection there.
Yeah, and I didn't even think about the heart, but remember we saw the heart in the first episode on the calendar when they were freaking out, like, what does a heart mean? What does a heart mean? So yeah, I don't know exactly who bought the house, but we just see that envelope in her car. I missed that whole thing, but yes, and the director, he's always trying to be in control. She breaks through the windows. The guy's got the guns. He's like, it's okay. Don't worry about it. It's okay. He's such a scumbag, as you say. I can't stand him. So they have a little standoff, basically to be continued. She calls her Scarlet Witch, episode over. And that was cool. They mentioned Scarlet Witch. They were building up to it from the conversation with Jimmy Woo in like episode 3 or 4, but 4 or 5. But anyways, then we have this big thing, this big reveal where post-credit scene. And director Hayward, I think his name is, he's out there. He's looking at the hex, and one of his people's like, hey, we're ready to launch. He's like, finally, go out there. And what do we see? You can call him white. You can call him gray. Some people online are calling him a little shade of blue. But we have alternate Vision here in the flesh. And at first I was thinking, how is this possible? We know that Wanda took Vision, but no, she created him as they showed him in that episode. This is the leftover parts. They created Vision. They used her. She had some kind of, the whole missile they sent in, the drone, it had some of Wanda's powers left on it, so they were able to activate. I think that's kind of a stretch. You'll have to explain that to me because I'm like, come on, give me a break. Maybe it was intentionally when they launched that missile, maybe that was their purpose. They wanted to do something to try to suck in the power. How would they do that? I have no idea. But anyways, we have Vision. We have Vision. Right. I want to call him 2.0 because there's no way he's better than the first one. But we have this white Vision, the silver. Made me think of the Silver Surfer, to tell you the truth. I know it's not Silver Surfer. Maybe
right.
And there's so many possible. Let me give my thoughts and you give your thoughts and close this off. But obviously, we still have Vision inside the hex. And inside the hex, he's got powers. So He flies up out of the car with Darcy in episode 7, so he's still around. We're obviously going to have a standoff between, we'll call him White Vision and regular Vision. You're going to have a standoff with Agatha and Scarlet Witch. You're going to have Monica Rambeau involved somehow. She's got the energy ability. Maybe she in some way, some kind of battle with her and Good Vision to fight Bad Vision. Maybe in some way she's able to transfer power from Good Vision to Bad Vision, and that's how they're going to bring him back to life. I don't know. Infuse the two together. My question is, besides the missile, I don't understand how that was able to encapsulate some of her powers. My question is, do they wait until this last episode to really fully introduce White Vision just to finish him off? Or is he going to be here to stay in the MCU? Your thoughts?
I think he's going to be in the MCU for a little while. I'm not, that's just why put this much effort into it? You're right. Then just get rid of him or whatnot. Here's the thing. I did not know. My brother and I spoke early this morning. He called me. He's like, yo, bro, White Vision. It's going to be Vision versus Vision, bro. They sending Vision in. And I'm like, what? He was like, yeah, Great Vision. So I'm like, is that a thing? I'm like, I know Vision.
I try to look it up. I don't think it's anywhere. To tell you the truth, I don't.
That's anywhere. I don't know if Great Vision was a thing in the comic books. Again, there are a lot of comic book people, a lot of story arcs you might miss, things that get introduced in just a story arc. And if you didn't read that story arc or buy that, okay, you may not know about it. You know what I'm saying? And I don't know where it's going, but why introduce him? I think he looks super cool. I love that Gray Vision or White Vision, whatever you want to call it, or bluish, whatever people were saying online. It's going to be Vision versus Vision. And I think that my final thoughts are this. Okay, why go through the trouble of showing Vision coming back? We're talking about the Vision that she put together, right? Because when he was coming out of the hex, she was falling apart. But remember, Tony Stark and who else? No, it wasn't Tony Stark. Who else was talking about it? It was Captain America. I can't remember who it was when they were taking him to Wakanda and they were discussing. Oh, it was Banner was discussing it, and he's like, "Listen, Vision is a very complicated mixture of Ultron, of Jarvis, of a whole lot of things, and even without the Mind Stone, there could be Vision. You know what I'm saying? So just because he doesn't have the Mind Stone, I think that they're not going to kill off this Vision because they said even without you take away the Mind Stone, you still got a whole lot of Vision left or whatnot. So maybe Vision, the Vision she created, will still be able to survive this show." I'm hoping because I love Paul Bettany as a character. Their chemistry works well. You know what I'm saying? I understand why some people thought that he had to go because he was way overpowered. You know what I mean? OP'd and a lot of times they had to kind of sideline him with, silly things, kind of like Superman, which, again, Superman is so overpowered that you can't have him directly face a threat. It's over too quickly. You know what I'm saying? So you always got to have those little side stories that kind of take him out of it. But again, I think why bother showing the fact she was able to create him and having that line where even without the Mind Stone, there's a whole lot of Vision left or whatnot. So maybe, we're going to get, I know of one thing from this show, one of the two Visions will survive. They're not just going to bring in two Visions and get rid of them. Come on. What are you doing to me? What are you doing to me, Marvel? So those are my thoughts. I love this episode. Nick, I'll leave you with the party thoughts. And guys, I can't wait for episode 9.
I'm going to make a prediction right now because this is a Vision. Someone online called it a sentient weapon, which is the two first letters in sword, or at least, the same letters. But I'm going to make a prediction. They're going to fight off. Obviously, we're all assuming that they're going to show White Vision win. Okay. But I think there's going to be like a flash of powers spread across, and they're going to be caught in the middle of it. And so White Vision's going to go back to home base with Sword. And either in the post-credit scene or they'll save it for season 2 or something, we're going to get a nod that it's the actual Vision, that he was able to get transferred into this, and Sword doesn't realize it. That's my prediction.
You know what? I didn't even think about that because, yes, the Vision she created can only survive inside the hex, right? When he was coming out, he was falling apart. What if in that fight, they shift the consciousness of the real Vision into the White Vision that was built? Oh, that would be cold. Oh, that would be cold. You know what? Oh,
you heard it here first, baby.
That's awesome. That's awesome. I know that the next episode is going to be crazy. There will be they better. If not, the internet sleuths have let us down, because supposedly there's going to be some big cameo in the last episode. I'm still hoping it's Reed Richards, so that now they can use this show to tie into the Fantastic Four. I'm hoping beyond hope that that's the next property that Marvel, that the MCU takes from Fox. I mean, come on, we all love the Fantastic Four.
I think they're going to take their time like they did with the Avengers, 5 movies first, and then Avengers, and then 23 movies before Endgame. I think they're going to take their time. They're laying the groundwork right now. There's no one can doubt that. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for listening to our review on episode 8. Let us know what your thoughts are. Don't forget to like and subscribe. We love this show so much. There's so many things that we missed. Let us know what your favorite part was. And until next time,
this is the way.